The office. No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics. We are the show! You want to know? It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, welcome to the Wednesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. You can join the conversation for the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is up and running at 617-297-8388. Again, 617-297-8388. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation today back at HQ Flying the Board. He'll get you set up and into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. And, of course, you can always listen to WCRN 24/7 by tuning in, obviously, to 8:30 a.m., but also on the TuneIn app, WCRN, along with thousands of other radio stations, stream 24/7 on the TuneIn app. I also broadcast this, or stream it, I should say, on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile. You can watch it on my, I was going to say YouTube. You can watch it on the station YouTube channel, also on the station Facebook page. Please go to WCRN 830 AM. Do me a favor, hit the like and follow button on our social media for WCRN. And you can also watch it on the Rumble channel, as well as on the new streaming TV channel, Twitch TV. That takes care of a lot of housekeeping, I think. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. So what's in the news today? We got a lot to unpack, as usually. Luigi Mangio, who has been accused of murdering United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, is targeted attack outside of the New York hotel. Now, that's generating a lot of controversial response online, despite the heinous nature of the crime. Some individuals are actually focusing on his physical appearance, referring to him as handsome and a folk hero, with others speculating about his personal life, including his sexual orientation. This disturbing glamorization has even led some supporters to offer financial aid for his legal defense and express romantic interests in him. We saw some of this with the Zionov brothers there, right? The Boston Bombers, the Marathon Bombers. Was it Rolling Stone put that monster on the front page because the editor thought he was a handsome guy? Well, it's important to emphasize that Mangione is facing allegations of a calculated, cold-blooded murderer. Such actions cannot and should not be overshadowed by superficial qualities. The focus should remain on justice for the victim, Brian Thompson, and the devastation caused to his family in the community. Romanticizing or heroizing an alleged murderer not only disrespects the victim, but risks glorifying violence in society. Mangione's case will play out in court, that it will. And while the law will determine his guilt or innocence, public discussion should center on accountability, the consequences of violence, and support for the victim's loved ones. Mangione may have been psychotic. No one is really talking about the mental health of this man. He was in chronic pain due to back surgery. I know something about that. For anyone who's never met me in person, you'll clearly see I do have back issues. I am in chronic pain myself, have been for years now. Now, he posted pictures of the screws in his spine that would lay him up for days at a time. Your frustration with healthcare is legit. And yes, the whole medical system has been derailed ever since Obamacare. And remember HMOs back in the 90s? And Hillary with doctors don't get paid? Well, the Dems did that. And for those that didn't catch up on this, yesterday, there was a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing regarding the incoming administration's plan to carry out mass deportations of criminal illegal aliens. Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, I love this guy, his colloquialisms, his little sayings or something else. Well, he sharply confronted General Charles Q. Brown Jr., the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, during the Senate hearing. The exchange stemmed from General Brown's previous comments likening Trump supporters to fascists, And Senator Kennedy, visibly upset, stated, "I'm insulted by your comments," pointing out the inappropriateness of branding millions of Americans in such a disparaging manner. General Brown attempted to clarify. He was backpedaling big time. Go watch the clips on this. And doing what a lot of people do when they get caught in something like this. He tries to take the high road and turn it around. He didn't do a great job at that, claiming they were not meant to label all Trump supporters, but rather to address concerns about the use of divisive language in politics. Let that one sink in for a second. He was concerned about the use of divisive language in politics. General Brown was. However, Kennedy wasn't convinced, asserting that comments like Brown's undermine unity and alienate citizens who deserve respect regardless of their political beliefs. This incident highlights a broader issue in today's political climate, folks: the dangers of inflammatory rhetoric and its potential to erode trust in national institutions. And we'll link this all together. For conservatives and people who are using common sense for looking at what's going on, well, this confrontation serves as an example of standing up against sweeping generalizations and advocating for civil discourse. The exchange also reflects growing tensions between military leadership and civilian political movements, a dynamic that continues to shape national conversations, by the way. And also in a powerful post-trial interview with Fox Nation with Judge Jeanine Pirro, first time that Daniel Penny spoke or has had an interview was with the judge. Marine veteran Daniel Penny, recently acquitted of negligent homicide in the Jordan Neely case, reflected on the subway incident that changed his life forever. Penny's account sheds light on his motivations and the moral dilemma he faced during that event. He did say something there that I found very interesting, that he would face 1 million appearances in court other than have to live with himself if he had done nothing and somebody had got hurt. Go look at this interview if you have a chance to. Penny explained that he's not a confrontational person. He doesn't seek attention, but stepping in to protect others was a choice he felt compelled to make. He described how he couldn't live with himself if he had done nothing and innocent passengers were harmed. He said, the guilt I would have felt if someone did get hurt, I would never be able to live with myself. Despite the media and public backlash, he accepted the personal toll, saying he would endure a lifetime of criticism to save those lives. Discussing the moments leading up to Neely's restraint, Penny recounted the danger he felt. With Neely threatening to kill people and Penny on the ground in a vulnerable position, releasing the hold didn't feel like an option. He feared Neely might act on the threats if he let him go. So when he had him down, now you have Penny on his back, and he's holding him to restrain him, and he feels if he lets him go, he could very easily, because now Penny is in that vulnerable position on the ground on his back, Neely could then turn around and carry through with the threats. And remember that Penny didn't know what Neely had as far as weaponry. A knife, a blade, had no way of knowing. Penny's actions have sparked intense debate, with many hailing him as a hero willing to take a stand amid rising subway violence. At the same time, critics accused him of excessive force. His trial became a lightning rod for discussion about crime, public safety, and the role of bystanders in emergencies. This case highlights the stark contrast between individuals like Penny, who act to protect their communities, and figures like Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, criticized for being soft on crime. Penny's story underscores the difficult choice faced by everyday citizens when law enforcement isn't present. What do you think about Daniel Penny's actions and his moral reasoning? 508-871-7000. Join the conversation. Now, we still have these mysterious drones over New Jersey. That's kind of a national security wake-up call, isn't it? What's interesting is I'm watching, before coming into the studio today, Representative Jeff Van Drew from New Jersey. He's talking about these drones could be linked to this Iranian ship spying off the coast of the United States. So apparently this mothership left Iran many, many weeks ago and has disappeared. We don't know where the ship is. And he's saying he's being told or has good information that these drones could be from this missing Iranian mothership. What say you? However, the sightings of the mysterious drones in New Jersey have raised significant concern among lawmakers and residents, with some experts speculating they could be related to classified government programs or even foreign surveillance operations. Now, lawmakers like Representative Chris Smith and State Senator John Brobnick have demanded immediate investigations and restrictions on drone activities until more information is revealed. Now, if this was some kind of special activities, and only maybe a half a dozen to a dozen officials in the government would even know about it, let me circle back to that in a second. New Jersey residents have been plagued by nightly drone sightings since November 18th, leaving many unsettled and demanding answers. The drones spotted in counties like Morris, Passaic, and Bergen. And when I go down to the New York, New Jersey area on a regular basis, I'm in Bergen County a lot. It has sparked these theories ranging from secret government programs to foreign surveillance. Now, while officials are sure there's no immediate public safety concerns, the lack of transparency is raising eyebrows. See, if these drones are part of the special access program, only half a dozen, maybe a dozen people or officials would even know about this. But right now, a statement from the Pentagon, the White House, or DHS would normally put us at ease. But given this administration's handling of Chinese spy balloons, let's say, being allowed to take its sweet time, hovering over military installations and sensitive sites before shooting it down once it's transgressed across the United States, well, we can't have a lot of confidence in that. Security experts have floated a startling possibility. The U.S. government could be conducting classified operations to test advanced drone technology. According to Clint Emerson, a retired Navy SEAL, these drones might carry hardware capable of gathering massive amounts of data, such as cell phone signatures, without violating privacy laws. If true, it could explain the secrecy such programs operate in their own lawless little world. We can continue with this, but we have to take our first break here coming up the first break on the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And don't forget our text line at 617-297-8388. Folks, stick with us. We'll be back on the other side in 2 and 10.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. But MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Discover the Yatco difference today. At Yatco Fuel Service and Food Stations, excellence isn't just a goal, it's our commitment to you. We're dedicated to providing you with top-notch customer service and the finest products, making your life easier every step of the way. Celebrating over 30 years of fueling the community with 14 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts. Whether it's filling up your tank or grabbing a quick snack, we've got you covered. Yatco Fuel Service and Food Stations. Fueling your journey, fueling your life.
Polar Park is the place to play, so treat yourself to a private suite at the best ballpark in AAA. Suite rentals are the best way to enjoy a fully catered and climate-controlled experience at the park. Whether you choose to watch the game from inside of the suite or out in your seats, it's the ultimate experience for a special occasion. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888 to reserve your suite today.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment of the Wednesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Reminding you, folks, you can also watch the streaming on Facebook and Twitter at Joe Mangi Show, MANGI, or on the station's Facebook page as well. We're streaming there. So come in and join as I broadcast from the Cameo studios, and the Cameo cam is on, and you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is also up and running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. So these drones spotted in those counties, and if they, as I was saying, if these are part of the special access program, very few people would know about it. And if a statement normally comes out from the White House or DHS or even the Pentagon, it would put us at ease. It would say, okay, it's our government doing some stuff. They've got it on hand. We're okay. But where's that confidence in this administration? We saw how they handled this when first of all, it broke about the spy balloon. Well, then we find out that actually we were tracking it before it even entered American airspace off the coast of Alaska. And the White House wasn't even read into it for almost 4 days after our military was tracking it. So now we also have experts coming out here floating this possibility that they could be conducting classified operation to test advanced drone technology. And so this former or retired Navy SEAL, Clint Emerson, he's saying that they could be gathering massive amounts of data. Our cell phones are wide open, and even these cryptic downloadable apps that you have, WhatsApp and what have you, they're not even that. Certainly WhatsApp isn't, ever since Facebook bought them. So if this is true, it could explain the secrecy, but such programs operate in their own lawless little world. And others suggest that these flights could be testing operational capabilities, probing the limits of current technologies. But the lack of official acknowledgement has drawn sharp criticism. New Jersey Senator John Barmanek, he called for a temporary ban on drones until authorities provide answers. Meanwhile, Governor Murphy expressed frustration, noting the drone's sophisticated ability to evade detection and blackout when pursued. Why aren't we just shooting this thing down and then cannibalize it and tear it apart? Well, the Federal Aviation Administration has restricted airspace near sensitive locations like Pinckney Arsenal, as well as the Trump National Golf Club, Bedminster. That's where Trump stays. So you've got the incoming president's residence in New Jersey. That's where they're at. That's unacceptable. Underscoring growing concerns here. Yet despite investigations by Homeland Security, the FBI, and local law enforcement, no clear motive has emerged. Why don't they just take these down? Capture them. This situation highlights deeper issues: lack of government accountability, the potential misuse of technology, and the ever-looming threat to national security. In a world where Chinese spy balloons have already tested our defenses, the mysterious drones in New Jersey serve as a wake-up call. Who controls the skies, and what cost to our safety and freedoms? You got to stay vigilant, America, and the answers may not be as distant as they seem. Also, I got to mention this because talk about not reading the room. San Diego County has recently voted to enhance its sanctuary policies, making it what some are calling a super sanctuary city. This move, approved by a 3-1 vote by the Board of Supervisors, aims to limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. You can't do that. You got the supremacy clause. But the resolution prohibits county resources, such as jails and staff, from being used for civil immigration enforcement, and restricts communication with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, regarding release dates for undocumented individuals in custody. I hope Tom Homan starts to prosecute people under the federal law, which he can do. The policy has sparked significant controversy. Supporters, led by board chair Nora Vargas, argue that it protects community trust and ensures local resources address pressing county needs rather than federal immigration issues. Think about that for a moment. What is more taxing on a county's resources than an influx of illegal migrants who have never paid into the system and all of a sudden is now taxing the school system? housing needs, medical. That's just one of the most asinine statements I've ever heard. Now, critics, including Supervisor Jim Desmond, describes the measure as reckless and a betrayal of public safety, emphasizing it could shield individuals convicted of serious crimes from deportation. No kidding. Sheriff Kelly Martinez stated her office will not adopt the new policy and will continue to practice be aligned with the existing state law. Now, timing of the vote aligns with President-elect Trump's upcoming term, during which he has pledged to intensify deportation efforts. Tom Homan says this is going to be the largest deportation. I think we'd have to go back to the 30s? Further polarizing opinions on this local decision. Critics see the policy as defying the will of voters, citing Trump's overwhelming election victory as a mandate to crack down on such sanctuary practices. That's true. Is there any doubt that the people have spoken, and this is what we knew what we were voting for? We knew that deportations were going to come. We knew the border would get secured. We knew before we voted for Trump overwhelmingly in a landslide that there's probability that the military will be used to secure the border. And for most of us, we're saying about damn time. So for a county like this to come out and make a vote like this, I mean, how tone deaf are they? Their inability to read the room and understand what the people want, and at the same time saying cooperating is going to tax the system. No, what has taxed our system is an influx of illegals who have no vetting, who we don't know their criminal history, their mental health history, and we don't know their general health history, which is why we've seen the emergence of diseases and viruses that we have all but eliminated resurface back in the United States. Think back during the pandemic, how difficult it was for us legal citizens who are all documented in birth certificates and residence and driver's licenses and in the tax rolls to come back into our own country. We had to submit to a vaccination that's not actually a vaccination, to an experimental drug that hasn't gone through the normal vetting and trials that most things have to do. And on top of that, the government turned around and gave them total autonomy, exempt from any kind of liability. At the same time, telling us that we have to put this into our bodies, even though we really don't know what it is or what the long-term effects are or the health effects of it are. But if you want to work or travel or go out to dinner, you have to take this. Don't forget what they did to us during the pandemic, and they want to pass on all that now. I don't think so, folks. Not at all. Not at all. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available. Don't forget, we're also streaming it from the Cameo Studios and the Cameo Cam, so you can watch it on Facebook and Twitter, X, as I should say, I guess, and as well as, Twitch TV and LinkedIn profile. So this committee yesterday, the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing about the mass deportations, it was something to watch. And Senator Kennedy always cracks me up. I believe he's actually a Rhodes Scholar, if I'm not mistaken. I think at Oxford or something. But anyway, Kennedy, Republican Louisiana, he really went after this General Randy Manner for comments he made regarding Trump and Trump supported as well. Manner, who's been, I think Red State put it a good way. Manner has been a useful idiot for the Democrats in the past. Made an opening statement arguing against the plan to solve America's illegal immigration crisis, saying it is not the military's job to police its citizens or to enforce controversial and politically charged immigration policies. Excuse me, really? They would be policing its citizens, General? They'd be protecting them by policing an ongoing invasion of the country. We're not policing our citizens. These are not citizens. People who illegally enter the country. And we hear politicians make this statement or make this mistake. AOC refers to them as her constituents, which they certainly aren't. And they aren't citizens. They are an unauthorized foreign national on American soil with no legal right to be here. They've broken the law to get into the country. And I've said this time and time again, folks. When you enter the country illegally, you have to continue to break the law. Your presence alone is a continuation of the first law broken. But then you need to break subsequent laws to be here. So whether that is obtaining jobs illegally or renting identities from Puerto Ricans. And I say this because I did a show on this. I went to deep dive on this before, that one of the most common practices is to take the identity of a citizen from Puerto Rico, being a territory of the United States. They have Social Security numbers and they're legally here. They're still in Puerto Rico, but their ID is transferred to somebody else. And because they're typically from South America, often it's easy for them to assimilate into that name because of their appearance. And they pay the person, this American citizen in Puerto Rico or the citizen of our territory, for the use of that name in that ID. And they have to return to them sometimes to continue to pay, say, if they want to finance a car or something of that nature. And I've always said, if you really want to get this under control here, part of the way you do this is through, you make them self-deport by cracking down on the employers who knowingly hire people who aren't legally here. Therefore, all the documentation has to be fudged. All kinds of laws are being broken, identity theft, and then the employers have to cooperate with this. And then you have banks who will gladly open bank accounts for these people. Start cracking down there. Folks, we have to take our mid-show break here on the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Remember, we're streaming on Facebook and Twitter, the Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. Go check it out. Join us online as well. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation, 508-871-7000. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side as we continue the second half of the Wednesday edition. Back in 2 in 10.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Vicki Graffin. Here's your latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. After a rainy and windy afternoon, things will be winding down overnight tonight. We cool off into the mid-30s, and then eventually we're back to more sunshine for your Thursday. Thursday will be running cooler with highs getting into the upper 30s. It's also going to be on the windy side. Plan on some wind gusts up to about 30 miles per hour throughout the day. It turns colder for Friday and Saturday. I'm Vicki Graff, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central 830 WCRN.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. The MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Wednesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. Our text line is at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. Join us if you'd like to watch and listen to the streaming on my Facebook, Twitter accounts at Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show, as well as Twitch TV and the LinkedIn profile. So what's interesting, because I'm seeing some text from 774 coming in talking about, look, that the CEO, right, that we talked about, Brian here, and he apparently was under investigation, Security Exchange Commission, possibly some embezzlement involved here. He made $10.2 million plus the perks that go with a job like that, CEO of this massive healthcare company, which apparently, from all articles I've read, has one of the highest rates of denials of any healthcare company. So this guy may have been shady as heck, and he may have been embezzling and under investigation. He may have had a very high decline or deny type of on policies and claims, but does that justify being gunned down in the street? I say it doesn't. And if he was all of these bad things, let the court system, justice system take him down. That's where you should be focused at, is that people who commit these what they call, this would be called a white collar crime. White collar crimes, they don't not have victims. They can devastate people. So these texts are coming in that seems to be in support of this. I'm not on board with. One text, it's good that CEOs put their bio and picture up. If they are scum, that will be good at this point, as if that's making it easier to get a hold of them. I don't know, folks. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's go to the phone. Steve's been waiting patiently. Hey, Steve, what say you?
Hello, how you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Anytime, Steve. What's up?
Yeah, as far as you know, all these people with support. Of course, what happened was, was awful, and it should have never happened. But how do you fix these corporations, these huge corporations with all the greed? Just for like the cable, I try to switch something for my mom. I couldn't talk to a person for like a half hour. And then when I pressed the button for new service, I got somebody immediately. And it's the same with these healthcare. It's like try getting help or information, to solve something. You can't even talk to a person. They make it impossible, and that's part of the delay and all the other stuff they talk about. And from what I understand, the United Healthcare made $285 billion in 2024, and in the meeting he was going to, their estimates for 2025 were going to be like in the $450 billion range. I mean, it's nuts. I hope they can reel this in and do something about it. Maybe Kennedy Jr. or somebody.
Right.
What do you think of that?
Well, first of all, I agree 100% with this. Nothing, I always say this, man, Steve, right? Nothing ever goes smooth when you want to do something with your internet, your cable, your cell phone, your car insurance, everything, right? I had a car that got disappeared out of Boston last year, and that was a nightmare on the claim there. Trying to hear at the studios at Cameo, I wanted to switch the internet service provider, because obviously we do a lot of commercial work out of here. I need a very fast, reliable internet connection. And without fail, when you get on the phone and they're recording it, I record them too now, right? And, they tell you one thing, Steve, and the price, you get everything worked out, 1,000 BPS download, upload speed, X amount of dollars. And sure enough, the first bill hits, you have it on automatic payment, and it's $20 or $30 more than they told you it was going to be. And it keeps going up. And then I agree. You try to talk to the billing department or the tech help service. You can't get anybody. But if you want to order new service, you get a live person all day long, right? So you always got to go through that kind of roundabout way. As far as the corporations go, a lot of these corporations, look at what happened here in Massachusetts. Remember when Charlie Baker was first running, and Maury Haley, who was the attorney general at the time, because they had to approve, the AG's office had to authorize his salary. So there's something here. Look, at a private company can pay what they want to pay or what the market demands on this. I mean, was this guy worth $10 million a year? I guess if he brings $450 billion back to the shareholders, they think yes, $10 million a year for $450 billion in profit. I'd take that all day long. But at what cost to the members of that healthcare? Right? How many claims are denied? How many treatments aren't paid? Go ahead, Steve. You know what I'm saying? How many people are suffering?
I'm sorry, don't, Joe. That's the thing. They don't care. I think it's just total greed. And as far as the customers, it's they put them on the back burner. Don't they have these automatic things out, goes right to a computer and it tries to kick out all these claims? And the other thing was, I saw Candace Owens talking about, she says if you go to the emergency room, they don't even they look after and say, well, was this life-threatening? Well, at the time you think it was life-threatening, but if they determine it wasn't life-threatening, now you're getting a bill for $20,000
right
after the fact, because they won't approve it.
Well, here's the thing, and this goes back to the Obamacare move when we went through all of that back in the day. And I was saying it then, and I maintain it now. When you have bureaucrats and or administrative people, right, making these, and that, look, I've been in the hospital, out of the hospital for years for different things, and know he's dealing with this stuff. And when somebody who is just, and to me, is administrator, they're not a doctor or a nurse practitioner or any medical training, why are they making decisions about your health? I don't think that those people who are making these calls should have an understanding and working knowledge. They should be doctors or registered nurses or at least LPNs or something, that they've worked in an emergency room, they've worked in a doctor's office, they've sat in an examination room with a doctor or being the doctor, and they understand, because to me, your health care should be determined by individual case, first of all, Steve, right? I don't think there should be this algorithm that applies, because everybody has a different background, everybody has a different lifestyle. All of that goes into your general health, right? What kind of activity level do you have? What is your BMI? What's your medical history for your family? Are you coming from a family with high degree of heart disease or cancer runs in the family? What are all these? These are tons of factors. And it's somebody making, I don't know, $72,000 a year in a good case, you're working from home half the time. And I'm saying this because I have a couple of nieces who work for a healthcare company, and they work most of the time, they're working from their home while they're watching their children off their laptop, and they're logged in. God bless them. They have great jobs and they make good money. Great. I'm very happy for my nieces and for their families for that. But I've always looked at that and say, what about the person on the other end of the phone? Do they realize that they're talking to somebody from the kitchen table, and they're looking at their children? They're watching their children and they're making these decisions. I don't like that. That doesn't sit well with me. I think the decisions when it comes to your healthcare should be being made by people with medical background and training. And it should be based solely on medical need and treatment, not on the expense associated with it.
What do you think of the chances of this getting corrected, though, Joe? And and before I let you go, Joe, I really like the fact you're on at the same time every day. I can catch you 1:00
Yes,
And I appreciate all you do, and I'll let you go. What do you think, Joe, about this getting fixed, though?
All right. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it, and thank you for the call. And yes, we did make the program changing. I changed that a few weeks ago. I maybe months ago now. I lose track of time, and it was pretty much for that reason, Steve. Is because instead of Monday at 1 and Wednesday at 10 and Friday at this, there's no weekdays at 1 o'clock, with the exception of Friday. We have the Carr Brothers come in, and that's it. Plus, you can always go to Facebook, Twitter, or joemangi.com type thing and catch any show you missed. But my answer to that, do I think it will be fixed anytime soon? No. I think that a lot of things have to change in the medical world. And I think it's a combination of a couple of things. One is I think that first of all, the MAA, right? The American Medical Association, folks, that actually started as a union for doctors. So again, like people, when you hear the mass teachers or the National Teachers Association, understand that those associations have nothing to do with the quality of education for your children. Their fiduciary responsibility is to the teachers who pay the dues. Well, the same thing with the AMA. The AMA is for the doctors, not for the patients. It started out as a union for doctors. In the American Medical Association, back in the 20s and 30s and 40s and continuing forward, had constantly used tactics that were, quite frankly, mob-like to stop doctors who were using holistic medicine or other the RIF machine, right? The magnetic energy for healing. They've gone after people. They've put people in prison for that, charging them with practicing medicine because they weren't practicing it within the confines of the MAA, which was based and founded on the principle of making sure that doctors can make a lucrative living. So maybe we stop putting so much stock in the American Medical Association and recognize it for what it is and what its actual fiduciary responsibility is. And we allow people to look at, and Trump has been a big proponent of this, right? Experimental. He wanted to bring that option in, that if you're faced with a disease or illness that's terminal, that you have the freedom to try experimental. What do you got to lose? And that they still have to pay for it. There has to be a total overhaul. Now, Bobby Kennedy Jr., he's going to tackle this from getting red dye and poisons out of our food. But we have to take our third and final break here on the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Weekdays at 1 o'clock, folks, except for Friday. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side. Back in 2 and 10, folks.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. The MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Fluorescent lamps. Fluorescent lamps. Thermometers. Thermometers. Thermostats. Thermostats. These could all contain mercury, so let's dispose of them properly. Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly. Mercury is harmful to human health and the environment. To learn what products in your home may contain mercury and where to safely dispose of them, please contact your local Board of Health or Department of Public Works or visit keepmercuryfromrising.org. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly.
Visit keepmercuryfromrising.org because together we can keep our environment safe. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
All right, folks. Welcome back to the fourth and final segment here on the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. And Steve had a good point about the medical industry, and I should probably, because I have access to medical professionals, but also the group, there's such a large group of people out there who practice and advocate for holistic medicine alternatives. And let's face it, I mean, I go into my own doctor and I'll ask a question, but they are programmed with what they're taught in medical school and then what they read. And then you've got the pharmacies who pay very handsomely to these people who, the reps who go in to push the medicines. And this has always been a problem, right? The TV shows have been made about this and movies have been made about this. And these doctors are getting, conventions held in some of the most beautiful places on the planet and cruises that are all part of this. Well, the healthcare industry has a lot of challenges. Many healthcare industry challenges, they stem from the need to respond to the external forces, right? You got regulators and competitors. You've got cyber issues, inefficient workflows, documenting patient appointments, the insurance claim process. I mean, look at how many sub-industries are off the medical industry that go in there. And again, and I've talked about this almost all the time, folks, when we talk about transgender. I tell you, when we start talking about transgender, and I'm a person who doesn't think that the T should be an LGBTQ. I think it should be gay, lesbian, bisexual, and I don't understand why transgender is grouped in with that, other than back in the 70s, the transgender person made the decision to group it in there and say, well, we're going to ride the coattails of the gay and lesbian civil rights movement stemming from June of 1969. So that's where it got in there. I don't think it should be in there. But when you look at transgender and you've got these doctors, and I think that somewhere down the road here, there's going to be a price to be paid to these doctors, for practicing and performing and even providing medication to underaged people on the whole transgender issue. But doctors look at a transgender patient, especially if they're young, this is decades of billing, because if you go through that procedure, they're irreversible, but you're altering nature, right? You have to fight nature with medication, which means you're on medication for the rest of your life. That your insurance is going to be paying for hormones or estrogen or whatever, depending on the situation. You're on medication for the rest of your life. Your doctor visits for the rest of your life. You walk into a doctor's office and you're 20 years old, much less 15, and you feel you want to have this life-changing surgery. The doctor's looking at you and seeing their yacht, their second home, maybe their third home. Your decades of billing, both for the pharmacy, which are going to reward the doctor handsomely for providing thousands of dollars of medication every month that you have to take, not to mention the doctor fees. You see where I'm going with that. Follow the money, folks. Don't forget, we're streaming on my social media platforms, Facebook and X at Joe Mangi Show, MANGI, Joe Mangi Show. And you can also follow my posts and my TOFI. I do a today's observation for you. So they originally pop out, they'll just organically pop up on X and on Facebook. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Ken has been waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Good afternoon, Joe. Before I get to the topic, I don't know if anybody's mentioned to you, your audio periodically has like a hiccup to it. I don't know if it's something in your sound system that is correctable, and hopefully it isn't something that remains for many more days.
Really? Okay.
But,
so I don't know if it's coming from my studio or the station, but we'll try to figure that out. Thanks for saying something.
Yeah, I've heard it both on phone and online. So
okay,
something's happening.
All right.
But anyway, I think we have like two different issues, and I think it's really important to separate it, which by and large I think you have. But just for instance, today's news that there was a wanted poster put in New York City, or number of posts, another healthcare CEO. And the public message has to be really clear. Violence is never acceptable. And to the extent that people are whipped up in hatred for any business or executive or whoever it may be, whatever category, that has to be denounced, because that really leads to a path of anarchy and all sorts of problems. But as far as the healthcare industry itself, the discussion's fair, but unfortunately, there's some numbers that tossed around. So I think Steve mentioned a $500-something billion profit. No, because I've heard other shows pick that number apart and say, well, no, that's the revenue number. The profit margin for the business sector tends to be around 6%, which is just a little bit more than half of the average business sector profit margin. So let's not get too carried away throwing around false numbers, but the industry itself is so complex and counterintuitive to meeting customers' needs that, yes, it's very difficult and requires a mix of innovative solutions on the business side and creative parts of the government in its regulation.
Yeah, I agree that it doesn't matter whether the profit's 450 billion or the profit is, 24 billion and the revenue is 450. I mean, if it's $450 billion, Ken, I mean, how many lives are incomes are there? How many thousands of people are making good livings off that? But it's all irrelevant. It doesn't matter what it is. Taking it out on the CEO with a death sentence is unacceptable, period. And if this guy or any CEO is scamming the company, embezzling money, they should be prosecuted, have the trial. If they're found guilty of all this, they should be going to jail. And we shouldn't be so quick, in my opinion, we shouldn't be so quick to go, oh, it's a white collar crime. There's no violence there. No, I don't agree with that. A white collar crime is a crime. And you can be devastating to people's lives, especially when you come to healthcare and denying healthcare for the sake of making another $1 billion. If you deny enough of these things, and we all know, we've all been around. Most anybody listening to this show is typically a little older. We don't have a big demographic of 18-year-olds, so most of us listening to me right now, we've filed some claims. We've been to the hospital. Maybe we've had surgeries. We've dealt with this. And we know, or it seems, isn't it, that pretty much the first response always is initially deny everything and see what sticks. I've gone through this with my doctor when he said, well, we're going to try this. We'll see if the insurance company will okay this particular treatment or drug. Sometimes it comes back, hey, they accepted it. Sometimes they didn't. I'm going to rephrase it and try again. So we've all dealt with this at some point, right? But whatever it is, and it doesn't matter to me whether the profit was $1 billion or $400 billion, $50 billion, it's irrelevant to the guy's life. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you're allowed to gun these CEOs down in the street. Is that where we want to go with justice? And what about the fact now, and I'm thinking about this Neely situation and Penny situation. Now you got this guy Hawk, right? One of the co-chairs of New York BLM, saying that we need black vigilantes now. And that now we got to go out and they got to do some things. It's just, that's not the way to handle it in the street. This isn't the Wild West. This isn't how we do this. We've got to, but you know what the problem is, Ken? Then you got people like Alvin Braggs, who you don't understand. He's not doing his job, right? He's not prosecuting the real hardcore criminals, and he's trying to put somebody like Penny in jail for 15 years.
And the amazing thing is he could be the jurisdiction that the assassination is case handled.
Do you think this should be, if the Fed should step in on this one? Now they can. The feds can come
I
in
don't know
and
how
prosecute
that works.
this. Just for the fact that he crossed the state line after the commission of the crime allows the feds to come into this. I think it would be better served if this was on the federal level opposed to being left to New York's jurisdiction.
Especially when it comes to Bragg.
Yeah, well, exactly.
He's proven himself for years.
But this phenomenon with this guy, like with the Smirnoff kid, right? I mean, I don't get it, because he's a good-looking guy with abs. He's a folk hero now. He's a cold-blooded murderer. He shot an unarmed man in the back on the streets. It's 6:45 in the morning. I think there was a psychotic break in this man, and I don't think they're talking about his mental health as much as we should be talking, or the experts should be talking about it. That will all come out in trial, though.
Well, the woke reaction is just that. It's an entirely different culture who doesn't think rationally.
Mm-hmm.
It's all, what our side believes. And, hey, this guy's on our side, so, hey, doesn't he look handsome? I mean, a murderer should never be on your side, period. But That's not the way woke think.
Exactly. I saw his lawyer being interviewed, and the interviewer asked straight out, are people actually calling up and offering to help with the legal costs for his defense? He said, I haven't personally seen the emails, but my office tells me, yeah, that's happening. And now you got these people who have got some issues posting on there, referring to him as the boyfriend, and, they want to be, it's just, get perspective, get a grip on reality, folks. And you know what? Being a good-looking guy, and I don't think it's going to help him in prison much again. So I'm not sure he's going to be thrilled that he took such good care of himself in that way.
But we don't know what a verdict would be like if it was in New York City, though.
Yeah.
Even in this situation.
Yeah. Because how are they going to spin this? Are they going to make this guy like they're attempting to now, a folk hero, and that he was some kind of Robin Hood, and he brought this? But we're against the clock. Ken, thank you for the call. Always greatly appreciated. All right, folks, that's going to wrap up the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Back tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. But also, I'll be sitting in for Jerry Doherty at Political Thursday tomorrow morning. So join me at 10 a.m. on AM 830 WCRN. And, of course, each weekday at 1 o'clock as well. Well, that will wrap it up, folks. Joe out.
This is Radio Central, 830